Abbe Feder. Welcome to the Mom Betch podcast. We are so excited to have you today.
I'm so happy to be here. It's the best name ever of a podcast, obviously.
Abbe.
Mm-hmm.
So Abbe is the founder and fertility coach at InCircle Fertility. And this is such a great conversation to have. Mom Betches, if you're listening, if you and or know someone that is struggling with infertility, we're going to be understanding what infertility is, talking about a reproductive health system, navigating the journey, and then just how we can help manage and, our support systems within ourselves and within our community. So let's dive in.
Women need to empower women, and our voice matters.
Bitch.
Welcome to the Mom Betch podcast.
So I want to better understand infertility because I feel like unless you're truly going through it yourself, you don't really know. So can you kind of define infertility and second infertility?
Sure. Such a good question. I'm just so grateful that you're asking it. The reality is exactly what you said. Unless you're going through it, it's very hard to understand. And I've been on both sides because I went through my own infertility, obviously, and we'll get to that. But I was a terrible friend to my friends going through infertility before I knew what they were actually going through. And I'm very lucky that they stuck through it with me because I've been able to come back and say, I'm sorry, I didn't have the right words at the time. But we can get into this, like there were friendships that I for sure lost because the thing about infertility that people don't understand is that you wake up with a daily grief because even though it might not have been a human being in the world that died, it is the loss of a dream, a plan, perhaps an actual pregnancy, what you thought your life was going to look like. And so if God forbid somebody in your life had passed of cancer, you would find a way to be there for your person, your friend, your family member who was struggling, who was going through this grief. But because there's nothing visible or tangible all the time with infertility, people just don't realize that it's something that when you're going through it, impacts your everyday. It's not like the one day that you get the negative pregnancy test, you're a hot mess. It's that day and the next day and the day after until your next cycle when you see if your chance was had again. Secondary infertility, which you alluded to, is even more complicated in some ways because that is defined by when you've had your first child generally with no issue, and then you think you're going to have your second one with no issue according to plan, and something is not working. And for women, I don't want to overgeneralize, but for women, especially women I work with, there's an extra level of shame involved because you feel like you're not grateful for what you have. You don't want to talk about it because you feel like there might be somebody in your life who doesn't have children yet, or might be going through primary infertility when they have no children, or might be judging you for thinking, well, why do you even want that big of a family to begin with? There's so much more psychological hell that can come up. And I can tell you from somebody that went through primary infertility, I had no sympathy for people going through secondary. I was like, you have a kid. And now that I work with women going through secondary too, I see what kind of extra torture it is. And it's really hard.
What is the best way to show up for someone or friend that's going through this?
So my number one thing is just showing up. Like that's 80% of the work. It's kind of like anybody in your life who's passed away or who's sick and we think, oh, I don't want to bring it up because they're not thinking about it. And if I bring it up, they're going to think about it. You can't say nothing. So showing up literally could mean, I don't know what to do for you, but I want to be a good friend. I don't know what to do for you, but I'm going to drop your favorite ice cream on the porch. I don't know what to say to you because I feel like everything I'm going to say is wrong. So, and like, I don't want to put the onus on the person suffering to have to come up with a plan of how you can support them. But you could say like, if and when you feel comfortable telling me what you need, it would help me so much so I can give it to you. And I just think like being open and honest with each other instead of being afraid about being open and honest with each other is always the best bet. The worst case scenario is you say something that hurts the person, but they know you are coming from the right place. And that is the most important part. So it is like I don't know where things, I would have people who would know we were going through IVF, and then I would see them a year later and they would see we still didn't have a kid, but they didn't want to mention it. Right. And it would have meant so much to me if they could have just said, last time we saw you, you were going through IVF. You don't have to share your journey if you don't want to, but I'm here if you do want to, or if you just want to listen, or if when it gets really crappy for you, you just want to call me and cry, I'm here and you don't even have to explain why. Those are the things that make an impact in someone's life.
That's like really helpful to hear, because I personally would not bring it up because I didn't want to reopen the wound. I don't want to make them have to think about something that causes pain. So I think that's a really interesting perspective. I never would have thought of it like that.
Yeah. The thing is, the pain exists there, whether the person brings it up or not. And so while you're thinking you're going to expose the pain, it's more that the pain is out there. So if you don't say anything, you don't realize it, but you're just ignoring the pain that's living there already, And again, best of intention from you, but you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it took James and I about 3 years to finally conceive. And I remember, like, for me personally, I was never the type to outward be like, I want to be a mom. This is my dream. Oh my goodness. I've had this dream since I was a little girl. I feel it deep in my soul. It was more so, my personality is more like dry, sarcastic, and during that 3-year period, I felt a lot of sadness. And people would ask, are you going to have kids? And I'd say, we're trying. I even remember, what I learned from that experience is how to be sensitive with people, because you just never know what they're going through. And in my situation, I had a neighbor that had a couple kids, and they were obviously toddlers and wild. And she would always say, like, do you want one? Do you want one?
Yeah.
Assuming maybe I didn't.
Right.
And inside, it broke me every single time I heard it, because I wanted to be like, yeah, actually, I do want one.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to ask me that anymore, because it hurts, right? Because I'm trying, and you don't know that because you just assume, or you just don't know. And that really opened up my eyes to being comfortable when I do bring it up, to say, like, if you want kids, if you can have kids, or if you're trying, or, maybe you can't try. Like, I kind of shaped both now from my experience. And I know that my experience, I'm also one that people may hate, because the day I went to go pick up my IVF medication is the day I found out I was actually naturally pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And, it kind of leads me to my question of, to piggyback off Cammie, is, a lot of times, right? Like, when we finally have that moment of just joy and we're like, wow, this is happening to me, we want to celebrate, but we also sometimes, I feel like, hold back because we don't want to make someone else feel bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you find the balance working with women with infertility on that side, right? Like, because I feel like women should celebrate their success and not have to just be shy about it around others. But I also think there's a balance to, in that moment, acknowledge as well, hey, if you're going through XYZ, sending you love.
I think you nailed it, which is the acknowledgement. I can tell you I'm 5 years postpartum, and I still get triggered by pregnancy announcements. I can see, because I went through infertility for 6 years. I'll see one and I literally will be like, were they planning it? Did they struggle? Were there any losses first? Did they tell their first kid if it's a second kid? Did their parents know they were trying? Was it on schedule? I can't help it. Still, this is trauma. But I will say, I think there's a very graceful way to announce and a very tacky way to announce. And that is my own judgment. Like, I'm entitled to my judgment. Somebody else is entitled to say, that's so rude, you don't get to judge. And we're both right. So for me, the acknowledgement is everything. Look, if you had an easy time and it never dawned on you that somebody else might not have, I get that it's not going to come into your head. But I think just, I'm thinking social media wise, people do gender reveals and all these things. just one line of like, we know how lucky we are and that it doesn't happen this way for everyone goes a long way in goodwill. And what used to get me even more than just a regular pregnancy announcement was like, I would run into somebody in the clinic that I knew. And let's say 3 months later, 4 months later, I'd see their pregnancy announcement and they wouldn't mention that they had had any trouble. And I would be like scathing inside. And I was like, you didn't get this on your own. Don't pretend that you did. But like, why do they need to share their story? They don't. But I think it would do us all a service as women to just be honest so that people could know your story. And so I always want to like out everybody when I know that they've had treatment.
That's a really great point. Like to just say like, hey, I'm celebrating this moment, but like, here's a tidbit on how we got here. Like, I kind of wish I could go back and redo my pregnancy announcement because I feel like not just like sharing that I went through pain, but just sharing like, hey, like, you are not alone. Like, we all go through something to get here. I love that.
Yeah, I always remember Anne Hathaway because to me, she came out with a pregnancy announcement around the same time that this person who I knew from the clinic did, who did not acknowledge it. And she's talked more openly about it now, but at the time, Anne Hathaway hadn't really. And she just made her pregnancy announcement. And at the end, she just said, and I thought it was so classy, for anybody trying to get pregnant, just know that the road was not straight for us at all. And like, she didn't even have to go into detail. It was just like, I know what it's like to be in the trenches with you. It meant so much, you know?
Yeah, I think that's such a good point because social media is all rainbows and butterflies and my perfect life. And let's bring some genuinity to it, you know? Let's bring some realness to it. I love that.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So you've kind of seen it all. And I'm sure you've helped women from all kinds of ages, from, young to, over 40. What kind of things have you seen as far as like reproductive health and its impact on infertility?
Oh my God, I've seen so much. What's really remarkable is donor, like what's called third-party reproduction. So that's sperm donor, egg donor, or embryo donor. The advances that have been made since even I started working in this field have been incredible. And the opportunities that are out there, if that's a route that you're willing to go. I've also seen like 28-year-olds who have nothing wrong with them, who can't get pregnant on their own. And it can be scary. Like, what is going on in our world that this is what's happening? Now, some of them have endometriosis or PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, or some reason that it might be an extra challenge. But it does get really scary when you think about like, what toxins have we ingested? I know this is like crazy micro, but I had this incredible conversation with a woman at an event last week who makes like hormone-friendly clothing. And she literally got me into a tizzy because she's like, anything that you wear that's like dry wicking or will keep you dry when you work out means it's literally treated with chemicals to stay dry. And then you're sweating and opening up your pores. And all of that chemical is going in. And think about where, if you're working out, are the only places are definitely covered. It's all the places you don't want any of those chemicals going. And I was like, because sure, we know, like all of us know now you should get paraben-free shampoo and try to drink out of a glass instead of plastic. But that, I was like, oh my God, there's like a whole nother wave of things that we need to know about.
Right.
So she makes this like line of clothing that is like, you're supposed to be sweating. So who cares if it's, dark under your armpits or whatever it is. And she got me like super paranoid, but also super thinking about it.
Yeah.
But, I think like with older women, I think tonight, like what did we do to our bodies and put in our bodies for how many years before we knew better? And we just don't know what those long-term impacts were.
Right.
So, yes, it's amazing that there are advancements in third-party reproduction now, but part of the reason is because the need is so high. And so you have to just look at, like all aspects of it.
I have a question about egg freezing.
Okay.
Because, and I know nothing about it, but my question is, I do see that there's a rise in having that advancement and ability to do so, which I think is just everything.
Awesome. Yes.
How do you choose a clinic? Like, how do you navigate that system?
That is such a good question, no matter what part of reproductive health you're going for. Although I will say with egg freezing, it's a little more straight and narrow. There's not so much variation that can happen. There is, right? You want to get the most eggs that you can, but you're not making embryos, so there's less room for error in the lab. Not that like you're not going to pick anywhere that has a crappy lab, but nobody these days has a bad lab. It's all amazing. So for egg freezing, what you really want, and really with any part of your fertility journey, is a genuine, authentic relationship with your doctor. Like I would have wanted a doctor who said, we got 5 eggs. I don't think that's enough. But a lot of doctors are very scared to say that. They don't want to disappoint the person who just went through all of this. But then what happens is you think you have a rock solid insurance policy. And 10 years later, you go to use those eggs and 5 is nothing and none of them take. And you're right back where you started. Now you're 38 instead of 28. So I think honesty, openness, I would want my doctor. I want to advocate for myself and tell my doctor from the get-go, please be honest with me. Please tell me what you would tell your sister. Please tell me what you would do if you were me. It's a little bit easier with female doctors. It's just the way that it is. There are a ton of incredible male doctors out there, but having a female doctor who's been through any phase of the infertility journey is often extremely helpful. They just get it, of course, in a different way. Kind of like me as a coach, I get it in a different way because I've been through all of it. So really, you want kind of to know, what are you going to do to my body? How many eggs are we aiming for? What will you consider a good round? And how many rounds do you think it will take me to get what I need that's an actual insurance policy?
That's really good info.
Yeah.
And the same kind of goes to IVF too, because I feel like a lot of people think, okay, save $25,000, right? I'm going to do IVF and it's going to work. And that's not the case many times.
Right.
You can do IVF, go through the whole process of egg retrieval, etc. And then, same thing, you get X amount of eggs and then only X amount of that is solid.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for women that are thinking about IVF?
You don't know what you don't know. And so I don't want to rush people into IVF if it's not needed or they're not ready. But if it's been a little while and you've done maybe like the gateway to fertility treatment, which is usually either Clomid, which is an ovulation regulator, or Clomid with IUI, which is like very low barrier to entry. I did 4 IUIs. I wish I had done 2 and then moved on. You don't get more information until we get the eggs out of your body and we get the sperm out of his body and we put them together and we see what happens. Because you might be making beautiful eggs and he might be making beautiful sperm, but for some reason they're not coming together. And until they're outside of your body, you don't know that, right? You don't know if they're just if they're putting it in at the right time, but they're still not fertilizing. We don't know that until it happens outside of your body. Or maybe it's fertilizing, but then by the next day it needs to be 2 cells and then 4 cells and then 8 cells and then a bajillion cells. It might not ever be getting to 8 cells. So you need to know, where is it arresting in order to be able to treat it. So, if you're more advanced in age, it's not like I'm pushing an IVF pusher here, but you get so much more information by just being able to take these things out of your body and put them into a lab and get the boost that you need from science. And so kind of again with IVF in your clinic, you want to ask how many rounds do you think we might need? If there is a diagnosis, if there isn't a diagnosis, what would be a good outcome for you? What would mean we would have to do it again? All of those questions to sort of get a handle on it from the get-go.
You brought up a really good point that I want to circle back to. And I think it might be part of the process, whether you choose IUI or IVF. I remember when we were going through the process, I just said go straight to IVF because I, at that point, was 36 years old. James is, 40 at that point. I didn't have the time, right, or the energy to wait years. So that was just us. But the one thing that I learned, and I don't think is ever really talked about, is I think women just assume it's your body. And that's not necessarily the case. It could be, to your point, the sperm that's the issue. So Do you have any advice on at what point your partner should be tested?
Yes. And I so am grateful for this question. Your partner should be tested immediately if there's an issue. Literally, there's always a joke like sperm test of the low hanging fruit, which isn't a joke about balls, but it could be like, that's the joke. It is the easiest test for them to perform. And it is often performed so much later than it should have been when that was the problem the whole time. It's crazy. And sometimes you have to advocate for it. And you have to say, well, there's no reason to believe, the doctor will say there's no reason to believe that it's the sperm, so we don't need to do that. It's like $100 at most. There are also amazing companies out there now with the advancement of fertility care where you can do an at-home semen analysis. Hera Fertility is a great company that's out there. There's female focused ones like Prove Fertility. You can do a lot of this stuff at home. And if you're just wondering or feel like you're not getting the care that you need or you're waiting too long for an appointment, go and find, like my website, I have a lot of resources of companies like this that I love, where I just think there's so much technology at our fingertips now. You don't have to wait for your clinic to call back and schedule and, go in and produce, which is what they call when you ejaculate into the cup and all the things. Like, you might be able to do it in the comfort of your own home tomorrow. Why not?
So do you think those companies are actually legit? They're pretty good, like the Modern Fertility. I've seen that one advertised.
So some are great.
Okay.
I won't give my top hits and top misses here.
Okay.
My website does have a bunch of hits,
okay,
and
cool.
I'm about to actually add a lot more because there's been a lot of new resources. I can tell you that personally, as a fertility coach, I care deeply about these companies. I don't think they're all created equal, and you should just know that when you're researching it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
No, that is really great to know that you have that on your website. Betches, if you just have to get to the website right this second, which we have no problem with that, Abbe. It's InCircleFertility.com. INCIRCLE fertility.com. Moving the conversation, to kind of sum up this segment, is do you have the top 5, or not even the top 5, but the top hitting bullets that you would give to someone that is trying to figure out the path or doesn't know the path? Okay, I've tried this naturally. Now I need to maybe try this, then this, then this, then this. What has been successful in your experience coaching women?
So I think number 1 becomes mindset, because every woman that I work with mostly type A women, because if they're type A, that's why they're coming to me. It's not happening fast enough for them. It's a lot of mindset of if we're going to do this, let's do it right. And that might mean you can't get 20 tests this month. It might be a couple months of waiting to test everything out and seeing if anything changes. And that is really freaking hard, because every cycle that you get your period and you're not pregnant is like a knife in your heart. And I understand that. I want it to go as fast as it possibly can for you too. But mindset of I'm in this for the long haul. If we're going to do it, we're going to spend all this money, let's do it right. So that's number 1. Usually for me, by the time people come to me, they're already in infertility. They're not really in fertility anymore. So there are things you can do to optimize your fertility if you're at the start of your journey: nutrition, acupuncture. These are also sort of low-hanging fruits, little lifestyle tweaks that you can make, I'd say would be the next thing. And you should make them no matter what, because they're going to only have good results for you anyway. Yeah. So try to get as much plastic out of your life as possible. Try to go organic. It doesn't have to be every single thing organic for the rest of your life, but for this season, keep things that are fresh and things that are organic, and keep foods that inflame down. So these are all, I would say, step 2 is what are the lifestyle things? And again, you go back to step 1 as well. It's a mindset. It's going to take 3 months for these things to have an effect on your body, and longer. And by the way, this goes for men too. Sure, men can produce sperm, but there is a difference in the quality of sperm if they're eating fast food and sitting in a hot tub every day.
Yeah.
So if you want to support your partner on the journey, please take a prenatal vitamin. They make them amazing. WeNatal is one of my favorite prenatal companies out there. They make one. It comes in a package for men and for women, so that you don't feel like only one of you is working on this. You're in it together. And by the way, miscarriages, 50% of miscarriages are due to sperm issue. So even though you might be producing great sperm, it doesn't always mean it's high quality. And it can especially that number gets higher as we get older. So men are not invincible, even though like biblical men had babies at 96. Anyway. Okay. So so mindset, lifestyle, get all your numbers checked, thyroid numbers. Look, if money were no object, I would go to like a holistic practice that did the gut check, the
HTMA, like your minerals,
functional medicine, all the things. Yeah. And which I wish that everybody could do that. And I wish it were just included in our general health service, and then it goes to like interview a bunch of doctors. Don't just go to one unless you really love that one. But here's the thing about infertility. You might not realize you hate your doctor until you're really in the shits of it. You think everything's going great. And then you do your first round of egg retrieval and they tell you they're going to call it 2 and they don't call till 4:30. And in that 2.5 hours, you're about to blow a gasket and you don't know that that's how they work. And then you have to do another round with them and it's the same thing, but the communication gets worse. Like all these things. So do the work ahead of time to find a great clinic and a great doctor. And then number 5 would be get your support system in place. Like I always say, it takes a village to make a baby, not just to raise a baby. I wish that fertility coaching were just a normal part of everyone's fertility journey. Therapy in addition to coaching, acupuncture, all the things, but maybe your support team is like, I need my mom to take my dog for a walk every Wednesday when I go to therapy. Like whatever it is that creates routine, ritual, makes you feel like you're in control of your journey, set it up and do it.
Love that.
I have a question. When you work with women and they start to kind of clean up their diet, maybe see a functional doctor, do some work there, do you see that they get pregnant naturally?
In short, no, it's not the magic bullet. Okay. But I will say again, because I'm more of an infertility coach, not a fertility coach.
I gotcha.
I think there are a lot of fertility coaches out there that are nutritionists and they can clean up your diet, give you much more hormone specific diet ideas, and they can affect your fertility. For me, by the time people come to me, they're already pretty much going through IVF or about to go through IVF. So I don't think it's the magic bullet. On my 6-year journey, there were many parts of the time where I would really clean up my diet, no gluten, no dairy, no sugar. It'd be amazing. It didn't do it for me. So I'm like, I'm just going to drink wine and eat pizza and call it a day,
Well, it's at least good to know, to Cammie's point, though, that that's important. So like if you're thinking about getting pregnant, like these are proactive things you can do in hopes that you have a good, solid, experience. Right. So I know one of the biggest things is finances.
Yes.
Like it has to be just such an added stress. I can't imagine. Like I remember us, we were like, oh gosh. Like, here we go. Like, this is going to be our life until, it hopefully happens. Do you have advice on the financial burden? And I say that because it's a big financial burden from infertility.
It's absolutely a burden. There's a lot of insurance companies starting to offer and integrate more fertility benefits, which is great. They're not perfect, but it's a start. I highly recommend there are grants out there. So you can Google infertility grants, fertility grants. Baby Quest is one. Fertility IQ often has a list. There's a couple more on my website. Those are starting to pop up from people who've gone through it, who ultimately maybe got some kind of nice money and they're like, I'm going to contribute so somebody else doesn't have to bear this burden. We did multiple interest-free credit cards at the time. We were very lucky that our credit was in a good spot where we were offered lots of interest-free credit cards and we took everyone we could get. And I have no regrets about it. I'm still paying some of those cards off. My kids are 5. Like they took a long time, but my kids are here. And I didn't want to wake up one day and think, oh God, if I just would have spent $20,000 more, I would have a family versus, oh my God, I have no eggs left. There's nothing I can even do. Mm-hmm. So for me, that was sort of the way that I was always able to justify it. It doesn't mean it's not stressful, but I think if you can look at it as an investment into your future and not going into debt for your future, it's just a different way to reframe it. Also, always ask your clinic. Some of them are willing to work out payment plans with you. always check and see if the treatment they're doing, like any kind of testing, sometimes it can be coded as diagnostic for pregnancy as opposed to infertility, and then it can get covered by insurance. So again, we don't know what we don't know. And until you're faced with some of these things, you don't think about it.
Why can't we have registries for this? Going back to the support.
This is
like
something that I'm starting.
Yes. This is patented. Do not.
It is. I honestly can't say much. Like even my team developing it has a non-disclosure agreement.
Wow.
But I am very much working on this.
That's huge.
Thank you. When it comes out, I'll call you.
Call us right away because honestly, I know us women, we love our birthdays. Even if you don't, you do. And we love prezzies. And if I could help donate to someone's birthday, I would not be shy to say hey, I'm having issues. I'm going to have my own shower. And it's the Celia Infertility Shower. If I had a registry, I would have thrown a whole party and done my damn thing. I think that is something that women should provide a new narrative.
Totally agree.
And not celebrate, but in a way create a community of support and turn it into a supportive community instead of this lonely, isolating, sad.
I totally agree. And also I always think about wedding registries. Somebody puts a trash can on there and you're like, I don't want to be the person that buys the family a trash can for the wedding. Yeah. But what if you were to put progesterone suppositories and somebody could say, your best friend could be like, I want to cover all of your progesterone suppositories because that's something that you really need. And I know that it's making a difference for you, right? I'm all about it. Ugh.
That's
awesome.
Love it.
We'll talk about it.
Oh my gosh.
When it comes. Yeah.
Huge.
Okay, so one of my final questions is more the motivation, right? Because I know that people are listening are going through infertility. And I'll be quite honest, I had no idea there was a such thing as an infertility coach. And I feel a lot of times until you're in the trenches, which it sounds like people are when they find you, it kind of reminds me of a doula in a weird way of I had one and I'm thankful that someone told me to get one and I didn't know what it was until I did. Mm-hmm. What is your takeaway and motivation for women to inquire for an infertility coach when they should, why they should, and just provide more information on that?
I feel exactly how you do. But like I said, most people that come to me, they're already in the trenches. I wish I'd gotten to them before the trenches. I wish I could have chosen their doctor with them, their clinic with them, understood them as a human and in their relationship with their partner, if they're partnered, to know what's important to them. Does bedside manner matter or do they care just about the lab? Whatever these things might be. And again, we don't know what we don't know. And so we don't know to look for these things until we're in the pain of it. So for anybody listening in the trenches of infertility, please reach out to me. But also, it's mom betches. So if your mom's already, I know that you know somebody going through infertility. Everybody does. Let them know that we're out here. And I want to be the perfect coach for you. If it's not me, I have colleagues that I would refer you to because I just want you to get to somebody. Hopefully it is me. But it's just like a therapist. You've got to find your fit. I'm not a fit for everyone, but there is a fit for most people out there. And so we all collaborate really with a lot of love because we just want this process to be better for women going through it. The earlier you can come to me, the better we can do. And just know it's an investment into a faster journey for you. The way I always say it is I can't guarantee you a baby and I can't guarantee it to you next week, but I can guarantee that we'll start to feel in control of a very out of control situation. And that is going to inform your entire process, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially.
You're the boss, Abbe.
Oh,
we are going to have all of Abbe's information linked in the description. But yes, InCircleFertility.com. You can book a session with her directly to get more information. But, just your industry know-how is just so crucial because it's such a unique individual experience. And it's really tough to navigate that when that's the only thing you know is yourself. But working with someone that's seen so many different and coached so many different type of scenarios, I can imagine it really helps take some of the stress off of someone that's already so stressed. So we are so thankful for you coming to the podcast.
You guys are the best. Thank you so much.
We'll talk to you ladies soon. If you are loving the Mom Betch podcast, we really want your help to like, subscribe, and rate wherever you listen to your podcast so that we can get more Mom Betches to find us. But I have to give a shout out here for a second. Did you notice the quality of this podcast audio? That's because we have a podcast editor. Miraculously enhance your audio, get custom edits based on your preference, and let your podcast editor make the episode sound so much better with her audio content optimization. If you have a podcast or want one, talk to Taya, our podcast editor. She can help you strategize, edit, make social content, and keep you on track to make sure you have the very best show. AI can only do so much, so treat yourself and set up a free meeting with Taya to see how she can help you with your podcast. Go to tayachura.com/podcast. That's TEACHURA.com/podcast.
Women need to empower women, and our voice matters.